Hey, Fortnite fans, welcome back to another episode of the show. Epic has dropped two exciting new things into the wild, a heavy sniper and a new limited time mode, Soaring 50s. And the design lead has hinted that the pump shotgun might be getting some changes. I'm here with my co-host, Stephen Rue.
Hey.
Hey, man, what's the latest skin that you've equipped?
Ooh.
Yeah.
The last skin I bought, I think, was a shark glider.
Okay. And I'm here with our special guest, Rocky. How's it going, man?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
It's going well. Yeah, we do have a little delay between the East Coast and West Coast here, so bear with us out there in the audience. So, Rocky, first things first, tell us a little bit about yourself. I think you're in a tournament this weekend, but you've been streaming, and you're kind of a pro player as far as I'm concerned. So give us the lowdown.
Well, I'd hardly consider myself a pro, but I've been streaming Fortnite for a while now. It's actually my first mouse and keyboard game. Started back in October. Came from Destiny roots. I was actually where I met Steve. Been streaming Destiny for about 3 years, and then I transitioned over to Fortnite, and I've just been grinding. I just really enjoy the game, trying to get better, trying to improve every season. I've been improving my stats every season, networking with friends, and just trying to have fun, create some content, and maybe get picked up by a pro team. Who knows?
Yeah.
I'd like to compete, and I've got that Summer Skirmish event, like you mentioned, coming up this weekend, so we'll see where it takes me.
Yeah, we're excited to see you. The show actually goes up probably in the middle of Friday, and I think you play on Saturday, you mentioned, right?
Correct.
Cool. Well, we wish you luck. I know you're out there with Grenader Jake, I believe, also, right?
Yes, Jake is my duo's partner Saturday.
Nice, man. Okay, so let's get into the very first topic. We're going to talk about that new heavy sniper that they dropped on us. We've actually heard about it for quite some time now. Finally has come to us, added a new sniper to our loadout, and we're going to talk a little bit about sniper strategies as well. Rocky, let's start with you. Have you been excited about this thing? What do you think about it? First impressions of the heavy sniper.
The heavy sniper, it's devastating. It does over 150 damage to the body, which is insane. Really long reload time, which is good because you don't want to be able to pump out those shots too fast. But it's also really effective because it destroys structures in one hit. I actually shot a tree earlier, and it destroyed the entire tree in one shot, which is incredible. So it really gives some versatility to the sniper loadout. I know in the sniper shootout prior, if you just built, it's almost impossible to shoot something down with a sniper rifle. But now you can one burst anything. So somebody builds out and they're standing on a ramp, completely exposed. You can shoot them down, maybe kill them with fall damage. It allows you to get creative with the way that you use a sniper.
Yeah, you know, I didn't try shooting a tree yet. That's interesting. I can take down a tree. Steven, what'd you think of the heavy sniper?
I think it's awesome. It also sounds awesome. It sounds like thunder. But I've been playing a lot of the sniper shootout, so I can just get it real quick. But I think it's awesome, and I said awesome like 55. Just
It means you really like it.
yeah,
it's okay.
it's awesome.
We're right there with you.
But
It's
yeah,
awesome.
I still think
it's awesome.
yeah, and since it's a sniper, you still have to hit your shots, so it's not like it's breaking the game or anything like that. So I think it's a good addition.
Yeah, it's funny. Like for me, they were advertising it a lot, and they continue to. And I'm glad you brought it up, Rocky. They were like, it destroys like structures and things. Like they seem to be positioning it as a tool. It's so powerful you can take out a wall. And so in my head, I have thoughts of like a squad where like two people have like a heavy sniper and you have like whatever, another one or a regular one, and you're like timing your shots to take down some structures and get in. I don't know if it will get to that point where people are like have a loadout of like a squad of people trying to coordinate with it. But I do love, like you said, that it's just taking down structures. And actually, the tree thing, man, I have not tried it. I don't know. Do you think the tree was full health? Like, I don't know what tree health is.
I think it was a full health tree, but like you were saying, I've actually already seen clips of people shooting down a fully built wall and then swapping to another sniper in their own loadout, in their own inventory, and then being able to finish somebody off in between them building. So that's another way that you can use it. Which is really effective, and also it has less bullet drop. It doesn't get affected by distance as much, so it shoots a little bit faster. I haven't gotten the timing down yet on exactly how much to lead the shots or how much it's going to drop off because it's different than the other snipers. But that's also cool too.
Yeah,
be able to hit people from a further distance.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That was in the update. They said projectiles fired from the heavy sniper have less bullet drop in comparison to other snipers. And yeah, they don't make it specific. I haven't played with it enough to notice, like, if you had to describe the significance of, you know, how the snipers normally drop versus this, is it subtle or is it dramatically better?
It's pretty different. With a normal sniper, I'd say about every 100 meters, I'd go up a notch. Just to estimate, I don't know, obviously know exactly what 100 meters is in the game, but I'd go up a notch about every 100 meters. And with this sniper, I've noticed if people are within 100 to 150 meters, you can aim it more or less right at their face. And if they're not moving, it feels much more like a hit scan weapon. You shoot them right in the face, it goes right there. You don't have to aim above.
Do you notice that feel on that as well, Steve?
Yeah, I noticed that too. Actually, like I said, I've been playing a lot of sniper shootout, and there are times where I try to aim above their head for the bullet drop, and it just goes right over their head. I'm just like, oh man, are you serious?
Right over
That's
their head.
crazy. Yeah.
All right. I noticed that a little bit in the time that I had to play with it last night. And I got an awesome shot in, which is not normal for me. So I was like, all right, this is more my style. Super powerful, a little more hit scanny, like you were saying. So yeah, I mean, I do think it could be a nice middle ground sniper for those who are not as good with the bullet drop. It's huge reload time, like you said. It's really slow. It's probably the downside. But I've been having a lot of fun with it. I think if we go around, let's rate it 1 out of 5 stars. How you feeling about it, Rocky?
I haven't used it enough, so I'll give it a 3.5, 4 stars right now, just because I'd rather have something that reloads faster. Its use is a little bit more limited, so like a 3.5, 4 star for me.
Okay. And Steven, 1 out of 5 stars.
Man, I think I'm gonna give
Battle
it
stars.
I think I'm gonna give it a 4-star too. Like Rocky said, the reload is really long. Like unless you have 2 of those things, you can really feel it. And I'm still not convinced if I would pick that over a blue hunting rifle. I really like how unrestricting the hunting rifle is, because you still have your peripheral vision and stuff like that, and it just feels more snappy.
Yeah.
But it does so much damage. You just like, I feel like you just can't not take it.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty much with you guys on that. I think that's where they want us to be, right? It's not overpowered, right? But that is a great segue into the next part of this topic. Let's talk about sniper strategy. There's now the semi, there's the bolt, there's blue and purple versions of these, and now you got gold and purple, right? I think on the heavy. So let's get into it with you, Rocky. What in your loadout, what do you want with a sniper? Are you going to carry this with you as your first choice? Or if you get, a blue bolt, like walk us through if you could kind of have your pick of the litter, including hunting rifles. Yeah, absolutely including those in the mix.
Okay, so I mean, snipers have always been my favorite weapon in pretty much any game I've ever played. Halo 3, I was exclusively playing team snipers. Destiny, I loved snipers. You can ask Steve. But in Fortnite, basically early game, I'd like to say that the semi-auto sniper is very viable. I actually hit a clip in the beginning of retail recently, got a lot of views. It was 7 sniper rifle kills in about 15 seconds. About 5 headshots, 2 body shots, and it was just pumping out shots with the semi-auto sniper. Nobody has shields. You can one-hit pretty much everyone and pump out a lot of damage in squads. Hunting rifle and bolt action are better for mid to late game, just because you can one-hit people to the face. Everybody's going to probably be shielded up. They're going to have mats to protect themselves. And nothing's more frustrating than hitting a 187 to the head and not killing your opponent. And then they get away and shield back up. So right now, I prefer a bolt action over a hunting rifle, just because previously you were able to peak shot with the hunting rifle. So it was limiting your exposure, limiting your vulnerability. So you weren't having to like overextend or put yourself in a dangerous spot to take a shot. Now with the peak distance changed, you actually have to peek a little bit longer and a little bit further with the hunting rifle. Bolt action is my preferred weapon over the hunting rifle now. But I do like how snappy it is. Anytime there's good handling on a weapon, people are always going to enjoy it. Good handling creates a good user experience, which is, again, kind of why the heavy sniper doesn't get 5 stars from me, because while it does do devastating body shot damage, 157, that's awesome. Somebody's pops minis, 150 health, you kill them in 1 hit to the body. That's great, but the handling is slower and it restricts your movement. It's a little bit clunkier, and because of that reason, I'll prefer a bolt rifle or a hunting rifle mid to late game.
Yep. Yeah, we've heard that a lot about hunting rifles. It tends to be a lot of people's favorite, like the blue hunting. But that's some really interesting points about now with some of the light changes that they've made that you really like the blue bolt. Steven, what about you?
Man, like I said, I just don't know yet between the heavy and the hunting. It's weird though, because like, I don't know if you do this too, Rocky, but when I'm running around on the map, just like running to get to the safe zone or whatever, looking for people, I'll run out, or I'll run around with my hunting rifle out. And if someone shoots me from behind, I'll just try to turn around and see if I can nail that headshot real quick. Like some people run around with their AR or their shotguns or anything like that. I love running around with a hunting rifle because it feels so good to just snap onto people. Like I've done that a couple times, like where you see someone, you just snap onto them, get the quick headshot and move on.
Are you quick scoping or just hip firing?
No, just like if I'm just like running and someone starts shooting at me from behind, I'll just immediately turn around, see if I can just hit that headshot. If not, you get into a fight, stuff like that.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're saying you do like the hunting rifle quite a bit because of its versatility.
Yeah, I'll take hunting over a scoped every time.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have to say I mean, maybe it's just because I got an awesome shot in last night to win a game. It was really not even that good, but the fact that I got it and won the game, I was happy with it. So I think I'm pumped on the heavy because for me, it feels like it's got a longer zoom on it. Maybe I'm imagining it, but
I don't know if
there's something different about it.
I agree with you. I agree with you. It does feel a little zoomed in, yeah.
But anyway, I like that. It's feels precise. Maybe that's it too. It just feels so precise at a distance for me. There's less bullet drop math, which does take quite some time to get used to. So I actually really dig this addition to the game. I always definitely preferred the bolt before that. I think I found myself over the hunting. I don't know. It's nice. It's a nice problem to have that I like them all, but I started to gravitate towards the bolt. I think because I wanted to get better. It's just so devastating when you get those shots pulled off. Okay. One more thing that I wanted to ask about this was, Rocky, you've been sniping in games for a long time. What's your advice, for people who want to get better? Should you use certain modes in the game? Should you do certain things? Like you were talking about something that I don't do. Like you estimate how many meters something is out and you have like your notch assigned to that. Give us some pro tip strategies on sniping.
So I guess pro tip strategies on sniping, you're just going to want to you want to know how far somebody is from you, obviously. If in a game where you have to use bullet drop and travel time, this is the first game that I've had to encounter something like that, because Halo was hit scan, so was Destiny. So this is a little bit of a learning curve for me as well. But using those notches on the sniper scope as a reference point is obviously the best way to go about that. Don't force it. A lot of people I notice, they just sit there hard scoped with their sniper. You want to try and take your shot, try and bait somebody into peeking so you can take a shot. Be quick about it. Protect your opposite angles so they don't get sniped from behind. And don't just sit there all day hard scoped. If you sit there and you make yourself an easy target, you're going to lose. And also it makes it a lot harder. Another thing is people will try to track their opponent and just shoot them as they're running. You want to try and lead your opponent's shot. So you want to lead your target, see where they're running, put your scope in one static location in front of them as they're moving, and then when they're going to cross, fire. So you're not tracking them, they're running into your scope, essentially. That's my biggest piece of advice, I guess, when sniping.
Oh, that's good advice. Yeah, like maybe I haven't done that before where like I lead shots, but actually leading it a little farther and letting them run into it. That's a great piece of advice.
Exactly.
Steven, what about you?
It allows you to be a little bit more accurate.
Yeah.
Rocky said everything you really need to know. Like I've seen Rocky sniping. Hopefully we have some B-roll of him hitting some snipes, but he's a very good sniper. So.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually I think I searched something about snipers in your name just prepping for the show, and there was like maybe a long distance clip of like early on or something. Maybe you were getting some really long shots out there. Could have been coincidence, but.
Well, let's ask this. What's the longest distance snipe you've hit in Fortnite, Rocky?
I think around 280 meters. I hit somebody actually on the run, right in the face. It was nice.
280 is very far.
Was that a knock or an elim?
It was an elim. It was in solos.
Oh, wow. That feels real good. Cool. Okay, let's move on to our next topic. We're going to talk more about weapons. This one's a little more speculative, but the design lead, Eric Williamson, is talking about how they're looking at equip times for pump shotguns. So I have a quote from him right here. Eric Williamson on Twitter, the design lead at Epic, said, "Current thinking is to reduce pump shotgun equip time slightly in update 5.30 next week." That's coming days from now. Other shotguns will remain unchanged for now. He didn't say much more than that. It just showed up out there. So let me ask you guys, what's your first reaction to that? Rocky, yay, nay? Do you feel like we have a big problem with pump shotguns?
A million times yay. I think that's a great idea, just because anytime you try and nerf a weapon by making it clunkier to use, or by adding more RNG, more or less, to the weapon, like with SMG spray, like nerfing accuracy, something like that. you're going to make the user frustrated because they're not going to be able to use the weapons to their full utility. Not being able to switch from building to my shotgun immediately, or switch from my SMG back to my shotgun because I fired a shot, nothing's more frustrating than staring at opponent and being able to do nothing, being helpless and being one hit, or sprayed down with an SMG. So I'm happy that they're going to be reducing the equip time. I want them to make it as fluid as possible. The game was in a great state handling wise a couple seasons ago, and I think they can get back to that. And I think there's a lot of other changes that they can make to make the gameplay experience more even, but also make it fluid and fun.
Do you use shotties very much right now? We were getting, on the previous show, some commentary that, honestly, that the pump shotgun in the state it was in, it was like, I just don't use it anymore. I'll take a heavy shotgun, maybe the new double barrel if you want to play that style. But do you tend to use shotguns? And do you have any commentary on you liked it in a certain state before, but now you don't? Or where do you stand on that with the pumps in particular?
I still use shotguns a lot. I'm just having a much less enjoyable time doing so. Basically, the way that I'll do it now is I'll lead with a shotgun, and I'll take a pump shotgun over attack and a heavy shotgun over the pump. I use it to chunk the opponent. I'll try to get a headshot if I can, but I try and do as much damage as possible with my opening shot, and then I'll push with an SMG. If I can't finish the kill immediately by the time they start shooting back, then I'll just build up another couple levels, and then rinse and repeat.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that's part of what they're trying to address. I hear that a lot now is I want that nice, crisp opening shot, and then I'm done with the pump for now. I'll move on to faster rate of fire weapons, meaning very rarely am I hearing that like someone's going to switch over to a pump, to finish, right? Because way too slow.
Right.
Steven, what do you think? If they bring the time down, do you want it to go back to the way it was? 0 equip time?
I don't.
What's your
0 equip time might be pushing it, but especially in the current state of shotguns and the damage they output, the pump definitely needs a handling boost. It's interesting because if you look at the snipers, I think the snipers are in such a good spot. Like some people like hunting rifles, some people like scope rifles, and then the heavy sniper is just a beast. So you have like these choices. Whereas if you ask people about shotguns, they're always just like, well, the tack is terrible, the pump is okay, I guess, but if there's a heavy, I'm taking the heavy no matter what. And then the new double barrel, some people prefer that. I think heavy's still the way to go.
Yeah.
But it's not in a healthy state, and I'd like to see shotguns get back to that, like Rocky said.
Yep. Yeah, it seems to me is they're going to give it a little touch and see if we're still mad about it. And if we are, they might be willing to go farther. But I read some of the subtweets to him, and a lot of it was more like just make it much faster. So I wonder if they're going to touch it up enough. But I guess we'll have to wait and see if it even happens in next week's update. That was, again, he said the thinking is currently that. So we shall see. All right. Let's move on to our next topic. They added this new mode called Soaring 50s to the game, which basically lets you jump off of high spots. You can build a ramp or be on a hill and just hit your glider, which is something I think we've all tried to do early on in playing the game. So it's kind of interesting to be able to play the game in a way that almost feels natural. Like, why can't you jump off and just use that, redeploy the glider? So they've got this new mode called Soaring 50s. It's a lot of fun. People are building a lot of ramps. What they say about it is... Where'd you go? All right, they say, it's featuring an emphasis on mobility. Gliders can be redeployed when falling from large heights. Additional impulse grenades, bounce pads, and launch pads will be spawned throughout the map. And profile stats, KD and wins are not tracked in this mode, so you can go out there and have some fun. And a little tidbit for you. Apparently, before it rolled out, people saw that it was called Velocity in the code. So if you've heard about a mode called Velocity, this seems to be what it was. So, okay, I want to turn to you, Rocky, and ask you, have you even had a chance to play this yet?
Yeah, I got a chance to play it yesterday a little bit when I was warming up. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, we look at these modes sometimes as either taking a break, I think, or honing some skills. What do you think this mode is best for?
I think this mode is just, it's really fun to just kind of relax, let loose, play with your buds without the pressure of everybody trying really hard and trying to win every game, because whether you win or lose, it doesn't really matter. It's just meant to be fun. And I think it also brings a very unique element and raises a question. The idea of not having to take fall damage because you can deploy or shoot at any time. That's, I think, the initial thinking behind the jetpack. And a lot of people are frustrated with the jetpack because you could use it to gain high ground. It could negate building. This works a little bit differently, though, because you can't gain height with it. You can just prevent falling. And I think everybody kind of realizes once we started getting better at building, everyone started shooting down their builds. So it's nice to not have that frustrating element of I get into a build fight or I build up into the sky, somebody just shoots me down. Plus, in the 50v50 game modes, I know a lot of times you'd have problems with your teammates just shooting you down when you go to launch pad or do whatever else, let you die, and then they take your loot. So that it's a good way to solve that problem as well.
Yep. Yeah, that was my first reaction. Was it was just interesting. Like I said, and the first time I went out and played it, I was like, oh crap, that doesn't work. Wish it did. And it actually allows us to experiment with that concept. Like, what if I could escape and jump off of stuff? You can obviously travel farther with this skill. So who knows? Maybe it will lead to something in the future. But Steven, what did you think of it?
Rocky raises a really good point, especially like in 50s and team modes where you don't know your teammates. They control you and shoot you down, stuff like that. And in the state of Fortnite right now, you do have to build up higher. And it is easy for like a third person who's not in the fight to just C4 you guys down or shoot your building down. And then essentially you're dead unless you have a bounce pad or a jump pad. But if you'd had to ask me would I want this change implemented, I'd probably lean toward no still. I do think there's a part of a skill gap where you can outplay the other person and maybe get them to fall off or stuff like that. I do think if everyone could just not take fall damage, the game wouldn't be as good as that sounds to everyone.
Yeah. Well, you know, it could be interesting
Absolutely.
if they... Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Rocky.
Oh, I was just saying, absolutely. I agree that fall damage needs to be a thing. You shouldn't be able to avoid it at all costs. There shouldn't be no penalty to building because then Skybridge meta will come into play. But I think that maybe some type of consumable or some other, maybe just a game mode where you can actually use that in solos or duos or squads. It would be interesting for a limited time mode, or maybe implement some type of consumable later on that allows you to use in the air instead of having to place it on a build, which you can no longer build if your building's being shot down.
Yeah. Yeah, what I was thinking about was like in the middle of build fights and stuff, maybe if the deploy time was larger, that like you kind of notice if you try to jump off of a side of a hill, it feels like it should work, but it doesn't for whatever reason. But if you jump off the right, you need a certain amount of height for it to work. So who knows, maybe in builds and stuff, there'd be a way to, I don't know, to have it that it has a little bit of nerf on it, so to speak. But I was thinking the same thing you were, was like whether it's consumable or maybe call it a parachute that you get, something that you could use as like a one-time thing or something to get out of a scenario. Could be kind of fun. So I just like that it gets us thinking about something we all naturally ran into, I think, when we played Fortnite. It was like, oh, crap, I can't do that. You like jump off the side of something and you're like, my parachute's not.
Plus, I want to see my shark glider more often.
Yeah, exactly. You pay good money for those gliders, man, and we do not see enough of them unless you're dying all the time. So food for thought for Epic. All right, so Rocky, we want to turn this next topic a little more to you. Rocky is going to be entered in the Summer Skirmish tournament this weekend. Those are the official set of tournaments that Epic has been throwing. So we want to ask him a little bit about the enjoyment of watching these and playing in these and what his expectations are for them. Rocky, that is my first question. Like, just kind of set up what Summer Skirmish is to you. Is it a place to hone your skills and make money? Or how would you describe it?
To me, it's honestly just a giant opportunity for exposure and to break into a very saturated scene. There's millions of good players out there, and it's really hard to stand out unless you're completely unique. So for me, this is a good place to kind of showcase my talent, showcase my ability, and also make some money and have some fun with a friend at the same time.
Yeah. That's a really good note. The exposure is arguably way more valuable than maybe whatever the prize pool might be for you. Steven, have you had a chance to watch any of the Summer Skirmishes? Like, do you enjoy watching them? Do you think Fortnite works to watch in the format they've had?
Yeah, I've watched a couple of them. They have different formats every weekend, so I don't know which format is my favorite one, but if you could tell us, Rocky, do you know what the format is for the tournament you're going to be playing in?
Yeah, so the format for this, it's going to be like 5 games per day, and it looks like it's going to be like custom games, and essentially you're going to be all on the same server, and placement and kills are both going to have some sort of a factor. Placement is going to be the main prize money, and then there's going to be like bonus prize money for kill counts. So both are incentivized. Placement is more heavily oriented, but they're going to have different rankings for each in this one. This is more of a Fortnite rivals tournament. It's more Twitch broadcasters than it is like a tournament style that they've done previously.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Yeah, I've been able to tune in, and where they've done a good job is it's interesting to see how they do it. And we're video producers here at IGN, have to think about this stuff. They don't have access to everybody's feeds, and they're not using a giant spectator mode that's all direct feed, right? So they have people stream, and then they cut to those streams, which obviously there's different delays. And so it's actually super impressive that they've been able to pick up all these streams worldwide, and they produce an entire show based on all that stuff coming in and collaborating with all of you guys in the lobby. So kudos to them for pulling that off. I will say that I think it works so far because, yeah, they're just able to cut to anyone. They just queue up anyone who's in a pretty decent position. But I personally can't wait for them to get to the point where the tool evolves and very quickly they can use stats and real-time stuff to jump to really exact stuff. Sometimes on the stream, it'll be like, oh, who was that? And when they get to the point where it's precise, like we see in a live sports game, I think it's going to be exciting. So yeah, I think it's super exciting to watch personally. But I will say the exposure thing, that is an awesome thing, and really, looking forward to seeing you out there. But as a tournament, I do want to press you more on that, Rocky. Do you think like Fortnite works for this, or is it just because it's the most popular game in the world?
It's a little bit of both. I think that at its core, there's always going to be a random element to any type of battle royale game. Mitigating that is part of the skill. Being able to land in a place that you can both loot up and also potentially secure kills if those are being weighted. Being able to survive, being able to place well. It's a survival game. Whoever's the last man standing wins. But being able to outslay your opponents is also a huge factor in that. So that's why I'm glad that a lot of these tournaments aren't completely placement based, because that slows down the pacing. And there is a lot of random element to these tournaments. But I really like it as is. I really like it as a tournament style, and I think it can be competitive. I think there's a lot of money, and it's cool to see a lot of different people have a chance to win the money. It's not always the same two players that are winning every single time. Obviously, you have great players, but because of the randomness and because of the way that people play this game, the different strategies you can employ, you can see many different players at the top, many different players, underdogs winning these tournaments, and that keeps it exciting. Nobody wants to be able to predict the outcome, and that's the best part of Battle Royale.
Yep. Yeah, Epic's done a pretty good job of, like you said, reaching out to people who placed in solo showdowns and kind of mixing in some of those unknown players with popular streamers who you do get enjoyment out of. They already are known personalities and have a streaming style that you can really lean on. But yeah, Not Vivid, I'm sure you've heard of him. He kind of had that story where all of a sudden there's this guy, Not Vivid, just killing these builds at the very end, and I think it was week 4 or something like that. Maybe it was 3, but now it's like he's scrimming with Myth and Duo, and his stream is popular now because he's so
It just
good.
takes one tournament.
And to your point, I think that is really cool. Like I don't think he was getting that big of a stream audience. He was just streaming, and now it could potentially be a career for him. So I think they're doing a great job.
Yeah, I wanted to pick your mind, Rocky, about something. Fortnite has been out for a while now in terms of how relevant it is, and especially in today's video game industry, it's super competitive and it's super hard for a game to stay relevant as long as Fortnite has. Do you think these competitions is enough to keep people interested? Because I am seeing that some people are getting a little fatigued of Fortnite. Do you think them having these tournaments is enough to keep fan retention, or do you think they need to push the envelope a little more, like a new map or something?
I think that the money and tournaments will definitely keep people's interest for a while, especially the competitors, but keeping the audience interested. I know I have a lot of casual friends and family who played the game and they don't enjoy it as much anymore and they stopped playing it. So in order to reach back out and capture the attention of those types of players and those types of viewers, I think they're going to need to start making some changes, a new map perhaps, or revamping the map even more. Obviously those things help. But I do think it is getting a little bit stale for the average viewer. I don't think it's going to last at its current rate, especially with the way that they're making the changes that they've been making to the game. Epic's been really praised for their responsiveness and on the adjustments and addressing issues with the game, but that's become a little bit fewer and further between recently. Obviously, when you have a huge game like that, you have a lot more voices chiming in, but I think that some changes need to be made. I still think they're making the right changes, and recently I've seen some interest come back, but I don't know if tournaments are going to be the end all be all to retaining relevancy for indefinitely.
Gotcha. Good insight.
Yeah, Steven, you were also we were talking earlier, like about maybe how you prepare for these tournaments. Did you still want to ask him about any of that?
Yeah. So going into a tournament, obviously it's not a one and done. You have 5 games, you said. Do you approach it any differently? Are your loadouts looking any different since you're playing with another friend, Grenader Jake? Are you holding items for him maybe? Are you holding maybe 2 heals instead of 1? Tell us your mind process going into it.
So obviously there's just different strategy on where you're going to be landing. It's not like a public game where we just kind of land in Tilted or retail and try to slay out. And we're each trying to, hit montage clips or whatever it may be. So yes, you do run different loadouts. You might have one person designated on Splodes while the other person's designated on Snipes. For the most part, both of us are probably going to run shotgun and SMG so that we can defend ourselves in close quarter compact, because that's what most of the encounters are going to end up being. Snipers are important for picks, but for the most part, end game especially, it's all going to be build fights. It's all going to be people turtled up, breaking into each other's structures, close quarter combat. So an AR isn't even necessary, really. Shotguns, SMGs, and Splodes are going to reign supreme.
Do you put a premium on landing safely and looting up, or landing decently hot, getting enough kills, and trying to get that kill buffer, whereas other teams who landed safely would not have that?
It depends a little bit on the tournament setup and format. Obviously, they weigh kills differently in every single one and placements differently. Based on this tournament, I think we're going to do a little bit of both. Maybe test out the waters, because it's not cumulative. It's basically all 5 of the games are going to be allotted the prize money individually. So if you do poorly in the first game, it's not going to have a bearing on your standing in the second game. They're all basically like 5 individual tournaments. So we might mix it up a little bit, try different strategies and see what works. But for the most part, I think that playing incredibly passively, while it does help for placement, it's not a good way to win the game, because your loot is, if you're just looting up like random houses, you're landing in the corner of the map, you're not fighting people for upgrade fights, you're stuck with whatever loot you're presented, wherever you're presented it. So you're going to have little amount of heals, little amount of ammo, and not necessarily an ideal loadout. You need to take some fights to be able to increase your loot pool in and of itself. So we're going to be at least somewhat aggressive. We're not going to be over aggressive and expose ourselves, but we're going to go for kills, and we're also going to go for survival. Disengage when necessary, reposition when necessary, but also take a fight, and don't be afraid to play your own game. Be confident.
Oh, good insight. Do you have a favorite place to land in tournament settings?
In tournament settings, well, since I haven't really been in too many tournaments, just kind of like the low-key ones that I've done with Grenader Jake and some friends, I like landing Tomato Town. At least in pub games when we're trying to slay out in solo squads or duo squads, because it's easy to rack up kills. Shifty is really good for both materials and mushrooms, so it's really good for shielding and positioning. And I also like Lucky, and I don't know if you call it Westworld. It's the place right south of Paradise.
We do call it Westworld.
Yeah, it's got a lot of chests. It's got a lot of rifts. It's a really good area to loot up, and you don't get a ton of materials, but it's great for repositioning as well because of the rifts.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Steven's trying to get you to give away all your secrets before the tournament, man.
I'm just trying to butter him up so when he wins that prize money.
That's right. Take you along for the ride. Yeah, I was gonna say, I was talking to someone who I played with this guy Click It, and that we used to play trials together, and he actually played in the Grenader Jake tournament.
Click It.
Yeah, Click, nice. So he was telling me they had this place I think they call it Hotel. It's up there by Lazy Links, and they really liked it because it was kind of small, not a ton of chests actually, but it was a great spot because there were rifts by it, and you could kind of pivot to where you needed. But it worked really well for them. They placed top 20. So anyway, the point is strategizing does pay off. It's interesting to hear how, yes, you do start getting into it and think about, okay, you take care of this, I'll take care of this. And you should have that level of communication if you're really getting sweaty about winning a tournament, obviously. But that takes a lot of mental energy. It's fun to just kick back and play some duos sometimes, I'm sure. All right, we do have to wrap up the show. We've had a great conversation. It's been awesome having you on, Rocky. I want to give you a chance again to plug. Where can we find you, man? Anywhere. Twitch, Twitter, where can they watch the tournament, etc.?
We can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Rocky. It's just Rocky. On Twitter, I'm at Rocky on Twitch. I post a lot of, I'm most active on Twitter, and I post highlights to YouTube. I actually just recently posted a montage on YouTube as well, youtube.com/RockyTTV. But I'll be streaming it live on Saturday. Again, that's Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. And I'll be streaming it, posting highlights to YouTube. That's the best way to get in touch with me.
Awesome, man. Well, we wish you luck out there. We can't wait to see it. That's it for this episode. I do want to remind everybody, be sure to check us out on Royale Rundown. That's a YouTube channel that we have that Steven is out there supporting every day. So like and subscribe, support us there. We want to do more of these shows. It's kind of been an experiment. Exactly. Hey. Steven Rue is out there every day doing those weekly challenges for you. And that's it. So thanks, everyone. And we need a proper outro for this show. So if you guys can think of any, set them out in the comments. We're looking for a tagline. Like on our Destiny show, we say Guardians out. That's our big thing on Fire Team Chat. So we're looking for some taglines if you want to recommend some. But that's it for this week's. What is it?
Oh, that noise when you die.
Oh, the noise when you get knocked.
We're going to have to work on that one where it's just like.
I like that one.
What is it? It's like a warp sound, isn't it?
It's just whenever you hear that noise, you go, oh, who died?
Yeah. Give me one, Steven.
I can't do it.
Oh, we tried.
Hey.
There it is. Hey, we're going to go with that. Anyway, that is it for this week's show, and we'll catch you all next time. Thanks.